Hi, everybody. I hope you are doing well. I wanted to come on Facebook Live today and share a little bit about what's happening at the moment because it's kind of intense. And hold on one second. Today and share a little bit about what's happening at the moment because it's kind of intense. And as this intensity increases throughout the month, I want to kind of give you an update about what to expect. So sorry, I had to get my computer fixed there. It was playing myself back to me and I don't need to hear me talking to me. So number one, check in and let me know that you're here and comment on this Facebook Live and let me know how you're doing. Let me know what's up for you. Over the last couple of weeks, what I've noticed in session as we kind of are approaching the middle of May here is that everybody keeps coming to me telling me that they're burnt out, that they're overwhelmed, and that they're exhausted. And that's not super unusual given everything that we've moved through with the pandemic. But what I've noticed is that there's some new things coming in, some expansion on the mental overwhelm. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. But first, let's talk about the energies that are at play. So we have a new moon coming up tomorrow in Taurus. Taurus doesn't like change. I'm a Taurus. I don't particularly like change. But yet what we're being asked to do right now is to really make some sweeping changes in our lives. Specifically, one of the big themes this month is looking at our priorities and how we define our success and what we value. And, Taurus energy is all about value as well. Taurans tend to like to hold on to things, collect things. They're very specific about their money. And all of those themes may be present for you as we come into this new moon tomorrow. But it's also aligning with the other energetics of the month, which is all about the mental body and mental health. And what I'm hearing from my clients is that they are at a breaking point. And what we have when we get to a breaking point is we have an opportunity to surrender. And many of us have been tired for some time. Let's be honest, before the pandemic even started, we were exhausted. We were overwhelmed. The pace that we were being asked to work at was too fast. The expectations of doing everything and being everything were just too much. And, as we moved through the pandemic, some of us got to take a little break and some of us got more busy because we're supporting people who need our help, like me, right? I'm supporting people who need our help right now. And so that means that I didn't get a break during the pandemic like everybody else did. And so regardless of if you got a break or not, what I'm hearing from people is that they are really tired and they want to rest. They want to take it easy, but their minds will not let them. And so this month we have a focus on the mental body and a couple of themes that I'm seeing with our mental body. So first, we're clearing out a lot of depression energy, a lot of inner child and ancestral trauma that we might be carrying that keeps us stuck in looping patterns of emotional highs and lows. I have done more ancestral clearings in the last week and a half on deeply ingrained patterns than I probably have in the last 6 months to a year. And what I'm noticing in these ancestral clearings is that we have specific patterns that we're carrying from our family. And we are so ingrained in those patterns. They are so a part of our genetics and a part of our energy field that we will do whatever we can to keep reinforcing them. That includes calling people into our lives who might reinforce those negative patterns or keep us stuck in those negative patterns. It includes a lot of self-sabotage energy where we know what we should be doing to take care of our body or to take care of our mind, and we're just not doing it. And it also includes a lot of patterns where we might not set boundaries or might not say no to things because we want to stay in these old patterns of scarcity or lack or overwhelm or, mental health challenges, different things that might exist in your family. So a lot of ancestral clearing. And all last week and the week before, we had pretty much every day a pounding of energy coming into the earth from our solar sun. And that also stirs up a whole bunch of stuff in our bodies. So you might be feeling a whole bunch of things coming up in your body as well. But let me talk about the mental health component, because that's really the big theme of the month. So when it comes to burnout, what we have on a mental body level is a tendency to get stuck into patterns where we're exhausted and we know we need to rest, but the mind keeps telling us that we're in a mode that we need to pay attention to, meaning we're in fight or flight mode, or there's something that we need to worry about. And what I'm finding with my clients is, because we've been in such a trauma for the last year and a half, it's activated all of our emotional backlog that we're carrying of any trauma that we have in our mental bodies. And specifically what that looks like is, the imagery that my guides give me is that you're getting on a plane, and rather than just having a carry-on and a personal item, you have a carry-on, a personal item, and this whole huge steamer trunk of emotional baggage that you're bringing along. So if you have any thought processes of, I should be doing what I was doing in 2019, I should be able to keep up with this pace, I should be able to do X, Y, and Z, you need to throw that out the window. Because what we've just moved through in the last year is a leveling of the playing field, because we all have experienced a trauma together. So regardless of what you were able to do before this experience, you need to reset your expectations on what it is that you are able to accomplish in a given day, a given week, a given month right now. We are moving through so much emotional backlog on top of everything that we've experienced in the last year. Our brains are tired. Our minds cannot even fathom making long-term decisions right now, because we got so overwhelmed in making decisions last year. Our minds can't fathom trying to coordinate 10,000 different tasks like we maybe used to be able to. We have a lot of mental fatigue that we are clearing out this month. And I think that people believe that if they just take a nap or they do some self-care, that they're helping their mental body. And that's not always the case. So it's important that we start to take time and work with the mental body and bring in actual rest for our mental body. We need to disconnect from social media. We need to disconnect from TV. We need to disconnect from our phones. We need time outside in nature without anybody calling on us, without anybody expecting anything from us. And I know that that may be challenging, especially if you're a single parent or you have a lot of responsibilities. And so it's about finding the pockets of time throughout the day where you can pull out of those lower thought forms. And we actually have 7 different layers of thought that we are able to operate in. And the lower thought levels are connected to our lower chakras, and they're all about survival. And we have spent the last year and a half in those lower thought form layers. And so you may be finding yourself stuck there. You may not be able to break out of the worry loop. You may not be able to take a break because you're so stuck in those lower thought layers and those lower thought patterns. And so the way that we break out of those is we have to have an interrupter come in. We have to have a disruptor come in. So a lot of people used to bring in the disruptor of a vacation to break out of those lower thought levels. You may not have the option to take a vacation right now. You may not be comfortable taking a vacation right now because you're not feeling safe to travel yet. So you have to find ways throughout your day, throughout your week, throughout your month to take a mini vacation for your brain. And that doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't actually have to look like meditation or any kind of complicated spiritual practice. It can be just as simple as closing your eyes and daydreaming. It can be just as simple as bringing a memory forward that brings you joy and really feeling that memory in your body and letting it come all the way forward. But if you find yourself stuck in these thought patterns, you might need help to break out. You might need someone else outside of you, a practitioner, a friend, a family member that you trust to help you disrupt that thought pattern. You might need an outside perspective. Because part of what happens when we come out of those lower thought patterns is that we're able to zoom up, right? We're able to zoom up and out and see the bigger perspective about what's happening in our life. And one of the most important things that I do for people in sessions is to pull them out of the loop and give them the broader perspective of why things are happening in their life and how they energetically are connected, and how those energy connections between the different aspects of their life are creating certain patterns in their life that they can break out of. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be able to be like me and be Nancy Drew and put all of the pieces together. You may need some help to get that outside perspective. But regardless, you have to give your mind a break. I can't stress this enough, because the mental health challenges that we have in this country are going to continue to expand. We have a lot of people who are going back to jobs that they don't want to be in, and they're already at a huge emotional backlog level. They're already carrying that steamer trunk. And so it just takes one thing to really push us over the edge. And so we have to be really, really diligent about setting boundaries. We have to be really, really diligent about deciding what we say yes and deciding what we say no to, and about really making our time sacred when we have the chance to be alone, when we have the chance to pull back and take a break. And so if you're finding yourself on this edge of overwhelm, you're not alone. Okay. This is very, very common right now. And it's very, very activating for all parts of us when we get to this edge of overwhelm, this burnout place. But a lot of us, for a lot of years, have functioned on the edge, on the precipice of this, and we've done just fine, right? Because we didn't have the experiences of the last year to push us over the edge. And, the other thing that I want to say is that over the last year, any trauma that you had, whether it's been buried in your inner child level, whether it's at the shadow self level, whether it's from another lifetime, it actually doesn't matter where it came from. Any trauma that you had that was buried has likely started to come to the surface. And you may or may not be consciously aware of what that trauma is, but it is affecting your life and affecting the decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis. And so it's important that we start to disrupt, right? Like I said, we need to disrupt, and we need to give ourselves mental rest so that we can actually sit in stillness and in quiet and hear our own thoughts and hear our own subconscious, and allow that to come to the forefront so that it can be dealt with, so that we're no longer in resistance to these traumas that are coming up to be healed. The more we resist, the longer they persist. So those are just a few things that I'm seeing in the field right now. There's a lot happening in the mental body, a lot going on. Take really good care of yourselves. Take as much time as you can to relax and to rest. And this Wednesday, I'll be doing a healing circle, and we will be focused on pulling out of those lower thought forms, pulling out of the worry loops, pulling out of the anxiety loops, and releasing any ancestral patterns that may keep us stuck in those loops in our mental body. And we'll be working with some certain frequencies that have been starting to come in for me to basically support balancing the brain. So we're going to do some work on the brain. We're going to do some work on grounding the mental body. And there will be a good amount of teachings on how to pull out of those kind of more subconscious patterns that we get stuck in. So that will be covered on Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern in my healing circle. So I'll put a link to that healing circle below this video in case you want a little bit more support. And as always, if you need a session, I'm here. I'll put a link to booking private sessions with me. I'm really good at helping people pull out of these really dark places. It's kind of my specialty. And to really bring in some new perspective and bring in some new energy to help you keep going. And we all need support and community right now, more than ever. And so if you're finding that you need some community to be a part of, we have a beautiful expanding community here in Zen Within Academy, and we would love for you to join us on a healing circle or maybe in our upcoming retreat in July. For those of you that are local to Charlotte, I've got a big crystal sale happening next Friday, the 21st, and next Sunday, the 23rd. So look out for more details on that as well. But really take good care of yourselves, y'all. This is really, really big stuff that we're moving through here. And you need to allow yourself some grace, right? That's the word that keeps coming in all of my sessions, grace. We need grace. There's only so much we can do. And the last thing that I'll leave you with is something that I read a long time ago about why, as humans, we decided to bring in the energy of exhaustion and mental overwhelm. And one of the things that I read is that when we are in a place of mental exhaustion and overwhelm, at some point, that chatter just all stops. And when we get really tired in the mental body, we open up to actual higher frequencies. We go to a place where we can connect more with source, where we can connect more with our spirit guides. And so call them in. If you're at your breaking point and there's nobody in your physical reality that can help you, or you don't feel like you have access to help right now, ask for support from the unseen realm. There are so many beings and light beings out there wanting to help us. And so ask for support in the highest timeline and the highest light for you. And don't be attached to how that support shows up. Sometimes we get sent somebody in the physical realm that is also kind of like a little angel that can help us. So hang in there. By the end of the month, the energies won't be so intense. We've got a lot of intensity right now. We have some eclipses coming up at the end of the month, and we've got Mercury retrograde, but that's actually going to start to slow some things down, which I think will be helpful and might be a little frustrating for some of us, but it'll be helpful because things will slow down a little bit. So pace yourselves and take good care of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.